I still remember that fateful night, the night of the night drive gone horribly wrong. It had all started with a desperate decision, a decision born out of necessity. You see, my younger sister, Emily, had fallen seriously ill, and the nearest hospital with the specialized care she needed was hours away. The urgency of the situation had left me with no choice but to embark on a late-night drive to get her the medical attention she required. The air was thick with an eerie stillness as we set off on that moonless night. Emily lay in the back seat, her frail form wrapped in blankets, her face pale and drawn. The soft hum of the car's engine provided a stark contrast to the tension that hung in the air. Her labored breathing was a constant reminder of the race against time. The winding highway stretched out before us, swallowed by the inky blackness. The radio had long gone silent, and I was left alone with my thoughts and the haunting sounds of Emily's illness. Her occasional moans filled the car, amplifying the sense of unease that had settled over us. As I continued down the road, I noticed something strange in my rearview mirror. A pair of headlights appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, and they were gaining on us fast. Panic set in as the approaching car came closer and closer, its blinding headlights filling my rearview mirror. I tried to maintain my composure, but the driver behind me showed no signs of slowing down. In fact, they seemed to be accelerating, their car inching closer to mine with every passing second. My heart raced, and I knew I had to do something to shake them off, for Emily's sake. I veered off the highway onto a narrow, winding road that led deep into the woods. The headlights followed, still relentless in their pursuit. The dense trees loomed like specters in the darkness, their gnarled branches reaching out as if to grab us. As we navigated the treacherous road, the forest seemed to close in around us. Strange sounds filled the air. Whispers that seemed to come from nowhere, eerie cries that echoed through the night. Emily's fevered mutterings added to the surreal atmosphere. Then, I spotted an old, dilapidated bridge up ahead. Without thinking, I sped toward it, hoping to lose our pursuer. But as I crossed the creaking bridge, a deafening noise echoed through the night. The bridge collapsed behind us, sending a cloud of dust and debris into the air. I skidded to a stop on the other side, my heart pounding in my chest. The headlights from the pursuing car were gone, replaced by an eerie silence. I was alone in the darkness, surrounded by the dense forest, with Emily still in the throes of illness. Terrified and disoriented, I turned the car around and retraced my steps, trying to find my way back to civilization. But the winding road seemed to twist and turn in on itself, leading us deeper into the woods with each passing mile. Hours turned into an eternity as I drove aimlessly through the night. The forest seemed to come alive with ghostly figures, shadowy shapes that flitted through the trees, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Emily's fevered delirium made it impossible to tell where reality ended and the nightmare began. As dawn finally broke, I stumbled upon a deserted cabin deep in the woods. Exhausted and on the brink of despair, I decided to seek shelter within its decaying walls. But as I stepped out of the car and approached the cabin, I noticed something chilling. There, etched into the rotting wood of the cabin's door, were the words, "Welcome to the endless night." My blood ran cold as I realized that I had unwittingly stumbled into a place where time itself had no meaning. night would never end. I had escaped the pursuing car, but I had traded one nightmare for another. And as the sun disappeared behind the trees, I knew that I was trapped in a never-ending darkness, doomed to drive through the night for all eternity, with no way out. Inside the cabin, Emily's condition worsened. She spoke of ghostly figures that whispered to her in the dead of night, of eyes that watched her from the shadows. The cabin itself seemed to be haunted, with strange sounds echoing through its decaying halls. I spent days, or perhaps weeks, in that forsaken cabin, tending to Emily's illness and fending off the malevolent creatures that lurked outside. Every night, the sound of the pursuing car's engine haunted our dreams, a relentless reminder of the darkness that pursued us. My own sanity began to unravel in that claustrophobic darkness. I would often wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, convinced that I could hear whispered voices just outside the cabin. Shadows danced on the cabin walls, taking on grotesque shapes that mocked my fear. Then, one night, I made a chilling discovery. In the cabin's attic, hidden beneath a rotting floorboard, I found a collection of journals. They belonged to previous occupants of the cabin, poor souls who had also been trapped in this nightmarish realm. Their entries spoke of desperation, of hearing the same pursuing car, and of the endless night that seemed to consume them. The last entry, dated decades ago, contained a dire warning: the darkness feeds on fear. It watches, it waits, do not let it in. I knew then that I had to escape this cursed place, not just for my sake, but for Emily's too. With newfound determination, I ventured out during the day, carefully avoiding the malevolent creatures that lurked in the woods. I scoured the forest for any sign of a way out. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I stumbled upon an old, overgrown trail that led deeper into the forest. As I followed it, the forest seemed to relent, and the oppressive darkness began to recede. Days turned into weeks as I followed the trail, and I began to glimpse a glimmer of hope. The night no longer held me in its icy grip, and the pursuing car's engine became a distant memory. One day, as I emerged from the forest, I found myself on a familiar stretch of highway. I couldn't believe my luck. I had escaped the endless night, the relentless pursuit, and the cabin of horrors. But the scars of that night drive gone wrong still haunt me. I can never forget the darkness, the fear, and the sense of being trapped in a never-ending nightmare. And I can't shake the feeling that somewhere out there, in the shadows of the night, that pursuing car still waits, its headlights cutting through the darkness, ready to drag me back into the abyss.